Discover the incredible transformation. How my daughter-in-law's shocking wish led to an amazing. The smell of cinnamon filled the bright kitchen. A heartwarming perfume that told stories of tradition. Sarah stirred the pot, but her mind was on Emma, her daughter-in-law now sitting at the sun-kissed table, hands trembling around a steaming cup of coffee. "I want to be a nurse," Emma blurted, her eyes bright with conviction, setting off a storm within Sarah. It felt like an earthquake had just struck the very foundation of what she held dear. Nursing? The very thought was alarming. It was not only an ambitious leap away from the safety of their family's routine, but a direct challenge to the life Sarah had meticulously built around homemaking and nurturing. Emma's dreams unfurled before Sarah like a vibrant butterfly breaking free from its cocoon. But within Sarah's heart, a darker flutter of resentment took wing. Was this her daughter-in-law's way of rejecting the legacy Sarah had labored over? The countless hours spent perfecting recipes, cultivating the garden, and untangling the family's needs came rushing back, each moment clouded by feelings of betrayal. She felt exposed, a woman whose identity had been crafted in the quiet corridors of family life. To Sarah, being a devoted mother was not just a role. It was success. Yet here was Emma, the embodiment of hope, throwing everything into disarray. Tension curled in the air, palpable and suffocating. Sarah pressed her lips together, grappling with the irony that the very young woman she welcomed into her home now represented everything that she buried. The scrutiny of their small town clawed at her skin. Whispers echoed the notion that a woman's place was at home, not in scrubs. For Emma, the nursing scholarship was not just a lifeline. It was a burning desire that flickered defiantly against opposition. "I can make a difference," Emma had said, her voice rising with enthusiasm. The audacity of it all sent shivers of doubt skimming through Sarah's veins. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The realization struck Sarah like icy water, numbing her defenses. Emma's ambition felt like a challenge, a mirror reflecting the chapters of her own life now smudged with insecurity. Old journal pages lay in dust, crammed with dreams she once chased before family responsibilities swallowed them whole. Coming to terms with these constant reminders sent torrents of grief washing over her. What had she sacrificed? But then came the crushing fear. If Emma succeeded, what would become of Sarah's life as she knew it? As the days melted into each other, unease crawled beneath Sarah's skin. Emma withdrew, and their conversations became fragmented shards of laughter tinged with scrutiny. The walls of their home were painted over with an unspoken war between tradition and aspiration. An emotional tug-of-war, each woman battling not just for their vision, but for their very identities. Sarah stood on the precipice of loss, looking down at the uncertainty churning below. Could she confront her past and help Emma break free? Or would fear of change pin her down forever? The stakes felt insurmountable, and with every moment, the weight of the unknown loomed larger. How could Sarah support Emma when it felt like risking everything she had worked so laboriously to build? The way forward remained shrouded in shadows, and as hope flickered, both women stood poised for an explosive confrontation that could either shatter their world or redefine it. The days that followed felt like an interminable cycle, drawing Sarah deeper into a labyrinth of introspection. Every glance at Emma, consumed in her studies, pulled Sarah into a whirlpool of conflicting emotions. The sight of Emma hunched over her books, scribbling notes with fervor, ignited a spark of admiration amidst the turmoil. For the first time, Sarah began to question not just Emma's role in their family, but her own. What did it mean to be supportive? How could she foster Emma's ambition without feeling like she was dismantling her own legacy? One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, throwing strands of golden light through their kitchen window, Sarah found herself reorganizing the spice rack, a futile attempt to restore some semblance of control. Each jar she placed meticulously reminded her of the years spent cooking meals, nurturing her family. Yet the act felt hollow. The spices symbolized her frantic search for meaning. Had she merely hidden from her own dreams under the guise of family duty? That night, lying in bed, Sarah's thoughts spiraled out of her grasp. She pictured Emma in scrubs, radiating purpose, while she remained rooted in a role defined by her past choices. An unknown voice within her, once silenced, began to whisper dissatisfied truths. What had she truly wanted? The question ricocheted in her mind, echoing with every tick of the clock. Wasn't growth a cornerstone of their familial foundation? If she were to encourage Emma, didn't she have to reconcile her own dreams? An imperative shift flickered within her. Sarah recalled the dreams discussed over late-night cups of tea with friends years ago. The desire to travel, to learn, to make a difference in the lives of others, all tucked away beneath layers of practicality. Perhaps this was an opportunity for both of them, a way to explore unexplored realms of their aspirations. If Emma could dare to rise, perhaps Sarah could too. The next morning, Sarah felt invigorated. Determination brewed in her veins as she approached Emma. "Can we talk?" Her voice surprised herself, steady yet light. Emma looked up, a mix of apprehension and curiosity crossing her face. "Sure, what's on your mind?" With every word exchanged, Sarah transported herself back in time, parsing through conflicting emotions. She shared childhood passions, her longing to help others, and the beauty she once saw in education. Emma listened intently as the lines of tension between them began to blur. The shield that had characterized their relationship slowly cracked. "Mom, I didn't realize you felt that way," Emma said softly. "I didn't mean to challenge anything you've built." Instead of feeling defensive, Sarah felt the warmth of vulnerability. "It took more courage to admit that than you know. Maybe we both need to push the boundaries of our comfort zones." An unexpected bond wedged between them, paving a new path forward. Questions that once haunted Sarah transformed into seeds of possibilities. She wondered what life could look like when each woman embraced her own aspirations, merging their journeys rather than competing. As the conversation unfolded, both women found common ground and dreams rekindled. They began exploring courses, planning future paths, together mapping out how they could uplift each other. A flicker of hope sparked, illuminating the dark corners of uncertainty. But before they could explore their newfound freedom, another challenge loomed. A phone call from Emma's old mentor hinted at an opportunity that would require a decision, one that would force Sarah to confront her greatest fears, while unleashing Emma's potential in ways they could never have imagined. "Mom, I think I need to take this chance," Emma said, vigor returning to her voice. The stakes had suddenly deepened, and as Sarah leaned into the intimacy of their conversation, the shadows of doubt crept back, whispering that this path could forever alter their lives. Unbeknownst to both, the moment of truth was fast approaching, one that would compel them to face not only their fears but the possibility of real change. A few days passed since Sarah and Emma had laid bare their ambitions, each day steeping them deeper into a cauldron of anticipation and fear. The atmosphere in their home had grown charged, thick with unarticulated possibilities that hovered like mist waiting to break. Sarah sat at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee cooling in front of her, but her attention was elsewhere. They needed to decide soon, and the thought knotted her stomach. Emma had been contacted again, this time with details about an internship abroad that promised not only professional experience but a chance for personal growth, a chance to step fully into the world she had long envisioned. Before that day, Sarah would have dismissed such opportunities as impractical. Yet now they hung like a beacon, shining light on paths previously unseen. In contrast, her own ambitions, long since shelved, lay in stark relief against Emma's vibrant prospects. That evening, Emma burst into the kitchen, her cheeks flush with excitement. "Mom, I've been thinking more about the internship. It's a fantastic chance." Her voice sparkled with enthusiasm, reminding Sarah of how she used to feel at the cusp of a big decision. "Emma," Sarah interrupted gently, her heart paradoxically wrapped in both pride and fear. "What if you're too far away? What if something happens?" The words felt heavy, a familiar hesitation surfacing. Emotions churned within her, a blend of a yearning to embrace their new alliance and the suffocating grip of maternal instinct. Emma paused, her brow furrowing, as the radiant energy dissipated from her expression. "Mom, this is what I've wanted. Don't you think it'll be worth it? For both of us?" This was not simply about Emma's journey. It was a mirror reflecting back Sarah's own fears. The implications of Emma's departure could mean more than just an empty room. It was a confrontation with the reality of her own stifled desires. Of course, I want you to seize this opportunity. I really do, Sarah responded, her voice almost a whisper. But what about our plans, us exploring our goals together? Where do I fit into that? Sarah's vulnerability opened a rift of honesty. They both needed this transformative moment, one that particularly required Sarah to step away from the roles that defined her. Emma considered her mother's words, the silence stretching as they both wrestled with their emotions. What do you want, Mom? Like, for you, said Emma, and the question hung in the air like a weight, forcing Sarah to confront the dormant aspirations she had long buried. I've always wanted to learn more, Sarah finally admitted. To help others, but I never thought about what that would look like for me personally. Then let us do it together, Emma exclaimed, igniting a spark within Sarah. I'm applying to the internship, and we can pick a course for you at the same time. We'll make it work. An unexpected sense of collaboration surged through Sarah, overshadowing her fear. For the first time, Emma's ambitions did not feel like a threat. They were intertwined with her own awakening. As they began to brainstorm possibilities, a local course in social work for Sarah to build on her desires, they rediscovered the autonomy of their individual paths leading towards a shared destiny. Yet, as their plans took shape, another tension surfaced. Would there be room for both their dreams to coexist? How would Sarah confront the sacrifice of standing in the shadow of her daughter's burgeoning path? Just as hope flickered, a thought echoed in Sarah's mind, amplifying her unease. What if success for Emma meant letting go of Sarah's place as the nurturing force in her life? Suddenly, the next step loomed indistinct yet demanding. Faced with a bittersweet decision that required her to let go, Sarah realized they were standing at a precipice of profound change, directly challenging the nuances of their identities within their evolving relationship. But when Emma's mentor called with a last-minute question about Sarah's support before the application was finalized, a flood of doubt swept over Sarah. If I say, yes, what part of me will I lose? With the struggle against her rising fears becoming palpably real, a singular realization dawned as the phone rang yet again. Embracing this change might very well be the start of an entirely new chapter, not just for Emma but for Sarah as well. And as she picked up the phone, ready to respond, a collision of anticipation and dread coursed through her, signaling that the moment to face that impending decision was closing in fast. What they discovered after this call would irrevocably alter the trajectory of their lives. The ringing of the phone pierced through Sarah's contemplation, her heartbeat quickening with each chime. She brushed her fingers nervously across the surface of the table, tracing the outline of her coffee mug, as if through its curve she could find solace from the conflicting emotions spiraling within her. This was not merely a matter of her daughter's aspirations. It was a challenge to the narrative Sarah had constructed around her own identity, a narrative that required urgent reassessment in the face of this burgeoning possibility. Hello? She answered, her voice betraying uncertainty. The mentor's conversational tone broke through her apprehension. Sarah, thanks for taking my call. Emma has such a bright potential, and your support is crucial for her application. Can I ask you to provide a reference? Just a short note about her commitment and capabilities? The request hung heavily in the air. On one hand, she wanted to champion her daughter, to be the unwavering foundation upon which Emma could build her dreams. Yet, the weight of that very support tugged at Sarah's own doubts. What would it reveal about her readiness to stand aside? I'd be happy to, she replied, the words escaping her lips as if they held the promise of both liberation and loss. The commitment felt monumental. These few words of endorsement would carve a path for Emma, potentially pulling her into a world abroad, a world Sarah had forsaken for so long. As she settled the call, a new fire ignited within Sarah. It was momentary, almost fleeting, but enough to awaken something dormant, the part of her that thrived on connection, on empowerment. For so many years she had played the role of the nurturer, the caretaker, yet in this moment of fortuity, she realized her involvement could mean more than just passive support. It could be an invitation for her own evolution. In the days that followed, Sarah shifted her focus. Each conversation with Emma had begun to grate at the edges of her old fears. What if she became not just a spectator but an active participant in the journey? She plunged into research for courses in social work. Those mundane details that had once felt insurmountable now fueled her motivation. The thought of sharing educational experiences with Emma began to morph from a simple hope into an immediate goal. But just as the embers of enthusiasm began to warm her prospects, a nagging anxiety bubbled beneath the surface, made manifest in the quiet moments the evenings spent poring over brochures and syllabi. What if her ambitions clashed with Emma's? The impending distance of an internship abroad loomed over her imagination, stirring thoughts of loneliness and a sense of duplication. Would her choices be merely a shadow of Emma's successes? One night, as they shared dinner, Sarah watched Emma recount her dreams with an earnestness that starkly contrasted the apprehension threading through her own thoughts. "It's scary, you know?" Emma said, her fork hovering over her plate. "But if I get in, it'll mean so much for my future. And for us too, right? We can both grow in different ways." "Absolutely," Sarah forced a smile. "It's just I don't want you to leave me behind." Emma's gaze softened. "Mom, it's not about that. You're helping me become who I want to be, and in turn you can figure out who you are too." Their symmetrical efforts toward their goals began to feel like pieces of an intricate puzzle, rather than diverging paths. Yet, with that insight, a deeper question emerged: what did Sarah truly want when the dust settled? Would she still feel whole or merely fragmented in fearing Emma's ascending path? That night, as she stared at herself in the mirror, the query crystallized within her consciousness. How do you embrace tremendous change when the underpinning of your life has been defined by caring for someone else? Before daybreak, Sarah resolved that by committing to her own growth, by redefining her role, she could ensure neither she nor Emma would ever need to abandon their individuality to pursue dreams. As the days merged into one another with an electrifying urgency, Sarah finally signed up for a social work introductory course. The decision was metered and her heart raced as she felt the commitment settle around her. A tidal wave of both dread and excitement washed over her. What revelations awaited her in this uncharted territory? But just as she emerged from the shadows of indecision, Emma burst through the door with news so beautiful yet filled with potential chaos. It sent a jolt through Sarah's body. "Mom, you won't believe what happened. I got an email back." The revelation pulsed with the gravity of unforeseen change, pushing them both to confront the realities of their intertwined journeys, leaving Sarah teetering on the edge of exhilaration and fear. She could sense the momentum shifting, cascading towards that critical juncture. How would they navigate the transformations that awaited? When Emma burst through the door, her aura practically crackled with anticipation, igniting both excitement and dread within Sarah. "I got an email back." Her eyes sparkled, a well of enthusiasm contained within a proud smile that beckoned Sarah to step closer. "What did they say?" Sarah managed to ask, her heartbeat quickening as a sense of potential unfolded before her. Emma took a deep breath, clearly relishing the moment. "I've been invited for an interview. The internship abroad is one step closer." The weight of those words loomed larger than Sarah anticipated. While Emma's triumph was undeniable, the implications swept through Sarah's mind with a fierce urgency. Would this be the moment when their paths truly began to diverge? It felt as though Emma had not only received news of an opportunity, but she had also claimed a slice of a future that felt simultaneously vibrant and terrifying. "Wow, Emma, that's incredible," Sarah exclaimed, her voice trying to match her daughter's enthusiasm even as her own thoughts spiraled. The joy she felt for Emma's achievement was paired with a gnawing fear. What if Emma took flight and left Sarah behind, suspended in a life marked only by the echoes of her daughter's success? "I'm so glad you're supportive," Emma said, as if reading some of the doubts lingering beneath the surface. "It means a lot. Maybe we can brainstorm how I should prepare for the interview together?" The invitation to engage felt bittersweet, compelling Sarah to redefine her role yet again. But the prospect of contributing to Emma's journey further morphed her internal landscape. Was this another chance for her to step beyond her comfort zone, or simply another reminder of the grand divide that loomed? Over the next few days, Sarah tried to immerse herself in Emma's excitement while grappling with her own burgeoning dreams. Research became her confidant as she pored over social work theories and ethical practices, mingling maternal pride with an invigorated sense of personal purpose. Each time she ushered Emma toward her aspirations, she would catch a reflection of her own in the process, a flicker of her long-forgotten ambitions. Yet in private moments, uncertainty revisited. Would taking on this new role as a mentor to Emma amplify Sarah's own sense of worth? Or would it merely act as a mirror, reminding her of the aspects of her identity she had forfeited? The lines between guiding and shadowing blurred. One evening, engulfed in a discussion about mock interview strategies, Sarah paused to reflect before speaking. "Emma, I want you to know that whatever happens, I'm so proud of you. But sometimes I wonder if I'm being left behind in this process. Emma responded with genuine warmth, leaning in closer. Mom, this isn't just about me. We can be each other's support system. You're pursuing something new, and I want to be here for you just as you are for me. That moment ignited a change in Sarah. Emma's words did more than comfort. They sparked a realization. The two of them were on this journey as allies, not as competitors. Supporting Emma was not just an act of selflessness. It meant reclaiming her place in the narrative she had nearly relinquished. With renewed focus, Sarah began to draft her first assignment for the social work course. She envisioned exploring how parental relationships shape identity development, an exploration that might offer profound insights not just for her studies, but for her relationship with Emma too. The swell of passion filled her with a drive she hadn't felt in years, each keystroke on her laptop marking a step toward her own reinvention. As she typed, she could almost hear a symphony of shared ambitions weaving their lives together in a harmonious crescendo. But as Sarah articulated her findings clearly, an unsettling thought peeked through the surface. What if her new pursuits were rooted in a fear of losing Emma, rather than an authentic desire to grow? Just as she lost herself in that line of questioning, Emma interrupted, her tone excited but urgent. Mom, I think the best way to prepare for my interview is to beneath the surface of excitement. Uncertainty brewed yet again. Was Sarah ready to fully commit to her own growth while supporting Emma's ascent? Would both of them find fulfillment without overshadowing the other? The air thickened with tension, marking a pivotal point where decision and consequence converged. What if, Sarah interjected, your dreams and mine are tangled in a way we haven't even considered yet? The room fell quiet as each contemplated the intricate complexities of their intertwined fates, knowing that the choices they made would echo through the paths unknown ahead. The hum of the laptop filled the room, mirroring Sarah's frantic thoughts as she processed the implications of her own aspirations converging with Emma's ambitions. Each key press felt like an act of rebellion against her fears. In the days that followed, that quiet revolution within her took on a life of its own, morphing into action that dared to challenge the shadows of doubt looming over her. Sarah dug deeper into her studies. She found herself uncovering connections she had never noticed before, concepts that spoke not only to her academic interests, but to the very heart of her relationship with Emma. The dynamics of attachment theory, for instance, revealed themselves as vital insights into how love empowers and limits. Application of these theories to their relationship was eye-opening. Could it be that the very qualities that made her protective also stifled her own growth? With each discovery, Sarah's resolve grew firmer, blurring the lines between motherly concern and self-discovery. She felt compelled to share these revelations, but a nagging thought lingered. What if Emma didn't see her as an equal? What if Emma dismissed her newfound perspective, viewing it instead through the lens of competition once again? That fear clawed at Sarah during an afternoon study session. Gathering her notebook and notes, she headed into the living room where Emma sat, revising her interview preparation outline. The surge of determination propelled Sarah forward, past the threshold of her hesitation. Emma, she called out, her voice steady despite the tempest of emotions roiling inside. Yeah. Emma looked up, her features a mixture of curiosity and concentration. I've been working on some ideas for my paper, Sarah began, the moment rippling with significance. I think we should explore how the way we perceive our parental relationships affects our own perspectives on success and failure. Emma's eyebrows knit together as she processed her mother's proposition. That sounds interesting, but how does it relate to me? Or us specifically? The question hung in the air, and for a heartbeat, Sarah could feel a wall begin to rise, one of doubt, of fear that her introspection would yield defensive reactions rather than open dialogue. Then she recalled the warmth in Emma's earlier assurance, the unyielding promise of mutual support. I think it relates to our dynamic. I've always wanted to be the best for you, but I wonder if that sometimes held me back from pursuing my own goals too. I don't want you to feel like you have to carry my dreams, as if they hinge on your success. Can we explore that? Emma's expression softened. I would never want that, Mom. But it's brave of you to say it. We could definitely talk about what success means for both of us. They sat together, diving into discussions that transcended the typical student-parent conversations. Emma brought up her anxiety surrounding the interview, weaving it together with her perceptions of how her accomplishments would reflect on Sarah. Each revelation carved out a deeper understanding between them, allowing and encouraging a delicate intertwining of two narratives, rather than the collision they both feared. However, even in these moments of clarity, unease persisted. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that her explorations might come at the cost of Emma's independence, her burgeoning autonomy. With every shared theoretical framework, a new layer of vulnerability surfaced. As weighty as these conversations became, they also offered an unexpected sense of liberation. The juxtaposition of self-discovery and shared growth accelerated her emotional intelligence. Progress wasn't just a solitary upward climb. It flourished in the spaces where they found understanding, where aspirations began to blend rather than clash. Later that evening, as they wrapped up their discussion, Sarah felt a shift, a subtle acknowledgement that forging individual paths didn't preclude unity. Their dreams were not destinies set in stone but rather directions shaped by celebration and support. It was an evolving, collaborative journey, illuminated by the prospect of both of them blossoming. But just as Sarah felt the fullness of this realization surging through her, Emma said something that caught her by surprise. "Mom, I was thinking, what if we both meet with someone to explore these paths together? A mentor or coach who can help us navigate all this." The challenge in Emma's suggestion tugged at Sarah, pulling nervously at the threads of her newfound resolve. While intrigued by the idea, the prospect of sharing that kind of vulnerability, a vulnerable exploration of their futures with another person, filled her with trepidation. "Could we really do that?" Sarah questioned, apprehension flavoring the edges of her excitement. Emma nodded, her eyes alight with potential. "Absolutely. I think it could help us separate our fears from our aspirations. It could show us the way forward without losing ourselves in each other." As the evening darkened outside, Sarah felt the proximity of choice enveloping them. The thought of seeking additional guidance felt like an invitation to tentatively unveil layers both were wrestling with. It was a step, yet uncertain, a pathway fraught with the risk of confronting deeper truths they had yet to unearth. Would they seize the opportunity to seek external guidance, knowing it might just alter the course of their intertwined ambitions? The question remained, tinged with both hope and apprehension, echoing in Sarah's mind as they prepared to take that tentative next step into the vast unknown. The next morning, Sarah woke to the sharp clarity of sunlight pouring through her bedroom window, illuminating the silent chaos of her thoughts. The conversation with Emma lingered, a mixture of exhilaration and anxiety coiling tightly in her chest. The idea of seeking out a mentor stirred both hope and fear. Would being vulnerable with a stranger unravel the delicate balance they had begun to nurture? Or might it propel them both toward growth in ways they could not yet comprehend? Determined to explore the possibility, Sarah set about researching local coaches and mentors, driven by an urgency she hadn't felt in years. She skimmed through testimonials and biographies, intrigued by those who had experienced transformative growth through guidance. Yet, every time she clicked on a profile, doubt would flicker. Who was she to believe she deserved help? Wasn't her role to be the strong one, the figure guiding Emma, not seeking a route herself? Seconds turned into minutes, which stretched into hours as time slipped past her. She knew she needed to overcome this hesitation, to view this potential step as part of her journey, not as a singular weakness. Seeking support didn't diminish her role as a mother, it could deepen it, fostering an even richer relationship with Emma. Later, while gathered in the kitchen, the smell of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, connecting Sarah to the present once more. Emma strolled in, her hair still slightly tousled from sleep, a morning haze softening her features. "Did you look into mentors?" she asked, her voice laden with anticipation. "I did," Sarah replied, the words spilling out before she had fully processed them. "And I think finding someone could be really beneficial for both of us." Emma's face brightened, and the warmth of her smile wrapped around Sarah, encouraging her resolve. "So what's next? Should we reach out together?" The idea of taking that step hand in hand eased some of Sarah's trepidation. Together they could be more than a mother and daughter navigating their paths. They could be allies in their discoveries. This thought ignited a spark of excitement within Sarah, reminding her that sharing this journey would allow both of them to emerge stronger, not only as individuals but as a family grounded in mutual support. They spent the day scrutinizing various mentors, fascinated by the plethora of specialties each offered. Sarah's pulse quickened at the different perspectives each potential coach promised, from career development to emotional intelligence. A thought began to twist in her mind. What if the right mentor didn't just empower them individually, but equip them with tools to better understand each other? As they created a short list of candidates, a name caught Sarah's eye. A woman known for facilitating mother-daughter dynamics, focusing on interdependence and individual empowerment. Would such a person have insights that could truly benefit their relationship? Once they agreed on a candidate, Emma expressed a mix of eagerness and anxiety. What if it gets awkward? Then we deal with it, Sarah replied, feeling a surge of protective fierceness for this newfound connection and her daughter's growth. This is about our development, not just comfort. I trust that whatever happens, we can handle it together. With a deep breath, they scheduled their first session, hearts pounding with anticipation and uncertainty. As the day of the meeting approached, Sarah felt the weight of her fears resurface. A voice inside her nagged at her resolve. What if the mentor challenged their relationship more than it nurtured it? What if they uncovered truths neither was ready to face? This thought gnawed at Sarah, amplifying her anxiety. Was she prepared to confront the possibility that their dynamic could shift dramatically with new perspectives? The night before their first session, she sat in bed, wrestling with the looming question. Could she fully embrace this opportunity without losing sight of herself or her bond with Emma? Just then, a text notification dinged, pulling her from her thoughts. It was Emma, a simple message filled with encouragement. No matter what happens, I'm excited to see where this leads us. That was it. If Emma was willing to leap, how could Sarah hold back? Tomorrow they would step into that unknown together. Only then did Sarah realize this journey wasn't just about a mentor, it was about unlocking pathways to their future, knitting the threads of dreams and aspirations closer than ever. Would they be resilient enough to embrace the changes ahead, or would the weight of their revelations fracture the connection they were striving to fortify? The sun rose slowly, casting a soft glow in Sarah's living room as she prepared for the first session with their chosen mentor. The air buzzed with a mix of excitement and trepidation. As she pulled her thoughts together, the reality of the upcoming meeting settled in. This was it. A significant step forward. Sarah paced, running her fingers along the arm of the couch, feeling as though she could physically taste the tension in the air. "Mom, are you ready?" Emma called from the kitchen, her voice cutting through Sarah's whirlwind of thoughts. It was a simple question, yet it held layers of meaning. Would they be ready to peel away the layers of their relationship, revealing vulnerabilities that lay beneath the surface? "I think so," Sarah responded, hearing the tremor in her own voice. She shook her head slightly, trying to steady her heartbeat. Today had the potential to reshape everything they understood about each other and herself. As they prepared, Sarah felt a knot of uncertainty tighten in her stomach. Would this mentor be able to show them a new way to communicate, one that went beyond the conventional mother-daughter roles they had established? She went through a mental checklist. Understanding each other, breaking down barriers, and becoming allies. These weren't mere goals. They felt like beacons guiding them towards something more profound. Arriving at the mentor's office, Sarah's heart raced. The space was bright and inviting, filled with inspiring artwork and motivational quotes elegantly displayed along the walls. It felt welcoming yet strangely intimidating. Suddenly, she longed for the familiarity of her own home, a safe space where she felt in control. "Take a deep breath, Mom," Emma whispered, grounding Sarah momentarily in the present. They entered the room together, a shared resolve propelling them forward. The mentor, Lisa, had an aura of warmth and wisdom that instantly put them at ease. Her ability to listen was palpable. It filled the room. As they sat across from her, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the catalyst they needed to reinforce their bond. But just as Lisa began to outline the session's format, Sarah's internal doubts began to creep in again. What if they revealed things better left untouched? What if, in delving into their struggles, they discovered a divide they couldn't bridge? "Let us start with what brought you both here," Lisa encouraged, her gaze expectant. Emma hesitated, glancing at Sarah, who felt the weight of expectation settle heavily on her shoulders. This was a moment for transparency, yet Sarah wasn't sure if she had the power to articulate her feelings. They were standing at a threshold, and whatever lay beyond it might irrevocably change their landscape. "Mom, I think we both want to understand each other better." Emma broke the silence, her voice steady. It was a declaration, an invitation for Sarah to step into the light alongside her daughter. The authenticity in Emma's words ignited a spark within Sarah. Suddenly, she realized that this wasn't solely about her apprehensions, or even the potential to face hard truths. It was about the courageous act of vulnerability they could explore together. This was an opportunity to break free from the past, to illuminate the shadows in their relationship. Sarah chose to embrace the uncertainty. "Yes, I want that too," she said, her voice stronger now, filled with a newfound determination. Their openness seemed to create a bond that thickened with every shared word. Sarah slowly unclenched her fists. In this space, she began to entertain the possibility that revealing her insecurities wouldn't fracture them, but rather strengthen the fabric of their relationship. Minutes turned into an hour as conversations ebbed and flowed, and with each new revelation, Sarah felt veils of self-doubt being lifted. She realized that the journey towards understanding was not solely about Emma, but also her own transformation. The shadows she initially feared turned out to be pathways toward personal growth and connection. As the session came to a close, Sarah looked at Emma, a new understanding sparking between them. They were embarking on a journey layered with complexity, yet tethered by love. Sarah felt the thrill of potential ignite within her. They had taken the first step toward empowerment in their lives. Yet, as they exited the office, a flicker of unease still nagged at Sarah. They had only scratched the surface, and the deeper issues remained unexamined. Would they fully uncover the challenges that lay beneath the surface of their interactions? Sarah glanced at Emma, determined to explore whatever lay ahead. In that moment, she knew one thing. Their journey was just beginning, and with it, the promise of transformation flickered tantalizingly in the distance. What other truths awaited them in the depths of their relationship? And how would they navigate the complexities of their newfound understanding? The following morning, Sarah woke to the sound of Emma bustling in the kitchen, the aroma of brewed coffee mingling with the crisp morning air. As she stretched, the reality of their session yesterday tugged at the edges of her mind, blending excitement with dread. There was something transformative about the experience, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from complete. Sarah joined Emma in the kitchen, casting a cautious glance at her daughter, who was humming under her breath, seemingly unaffected by the emotional weight of their encounters. "Good morning," Emma greeted, bright-eyed and full of energy, yet Sarah remained tethered to yesterday's revelations. "Morning, sweetie," Sarah replied, forcing a smile, even though her mind spiraled with all the questions still unanswered. How often would they need to confront their discomfort before genuine understanding could blossom? What if there were depths each of them had yet to acknowledge? With coffee in hand, Sarah settled at the table, compelled to dissect her lingering thoughts. "Do you think we should continue with Lisa next week?" she asked, not just looking for confirmation but gauging Emma's level of commitment to this unraveling journey. "Definitely," Emma replied, her gaze steady and resolved. "I want to keep going. There's too much left to explore." The watchful determination in Emma's voice stirred something within Sarah and urged to rise to the occasion. It became evident that Emma was prepared to peel away layers of their relationship, yet she needed Sarah to step up as well. The more Sarah pondered on this, the clearer it became. They both needed to face the pervasive patterns that had established barriers between them. With a determined light igniting within her, Sarah understood that embracing this journey meant confronting her own fears. It was time to dismantle the distorted narratives she had woven around their relationship. Later that evening, as they sat together working on a project for Emma's school, the atmosphere shifted. The conversation drifted from assignments to feelings, an organic transition that felt palpable between them. Emma shared her apprehension about fitting in with her peers, while Sarah found herself aligning moments from her own youth, the insecurities, the loneliness, the haunting desire for acceptance. The more they talked, the more those stories began intertwining, revealing profound parallels that formed an emotional bridge. "Mom, I never knew you felt that way," Emma offered, her eyebrows knitting together in thoughtful concern. "How did you cope?" And therein lay the catalyst for Sarah's own revelation. As she recounted experiences left darkened in her memory, she felt a profound sense of liberation. This wasn't merely about reliving painful pasts. It was about showing Emma that vulnerability could be transformed into strength. For every painful memory shared, a bond was formed, solidifying their connection. What surprised Sarah even more was her daughter's keen observations. "Maybe we can change how we deal with our feelings," Emma suggested, her excitement bubbling through the cracks of uncertainty. Create our own rules for how we talk to each other. The notion struck Sarah with a sudden clarity that felt both intimidating and thrilling. Could they redefine their approach to communication, transcending the limitations imposed by societal norms? The prospect was audacious. As they brainstormed their new communication guidelines, fear intertwined with excitement. For each rule they drafted, Sarah found herself confronting long-held beliefs about motherhood, guilt, and expectations. What did it mean to parent openly? Would dismantling traditional language expose their vulnerabilities, but strengthen their relationship at the same time? With renewed resolve, Sarah decided to embrace the discomfort of this vulnerability in hopes of building a new foundation. This time, she wasn't simply stepping forward as a mother, but as an equal participant in Emma's life, a collaborator in their emotional journey. As the evening dove deeper into the issue of creating their own communication framework, Sarah sensed a flicker of fear trying to pull her back. What if it didn't work? What if they discovered more than they bargained for? But the thought of suppressing this opportunity gnawed at her. Let us try expanding on this idea together, Sarah said, her heart racing with determination. We can craft our own rules, but it starts with honesty and open door between us. With each of her words, a new commitment unfurled before both of them. As they leaned into their fresh understanding, Sarah grasped that transformation was not merely a solitary venture. It required allies, authenticity, and shared goals. But as the clock crept toward midnight, and the weight of their new agreements settled in the air, a lingering question hung between them: would the rules they crafted truly bind this new path, or were they stepping into a more complicated labyrinth of emotions, yet to unravel? This newfound commitment sparked a much larger journey, one where the reflections of the past collided with the anticipation of the future. Sarah could feel it. The next week would bring not just a session with Lisa but a step into uncharted territory. Would they emerge transformed? Or would the shadows lurking in the corners of their conversations reveal more than either of them expected? Days turned into weeks, and every session with Lisa became a transformative experience for Sarah and Emma. They were no longer navigating their feelings in isolation, but were learning the art of collaboration with a fresh lens. The dialogue flowed like a river, carving out new channels of understanding as they peeled back layers of their identities. Together they confronted fears, shared secrets, and offered support, and with each revelation, Sarah felt more like herself. The woman who had sacrificed her own dreams began to emerge, radiant and intrigued by the future. During one particularly impactful session, Sarah took a leap of faith. "I've struggled with seeing myself outside of my role as your mother," she confessed, her voice steady yet filled with vulnerability. "But I feel like there's an entire part of me that's been dormant. I want to embrace that woman again." Her admission hung in the air, inviting Emma to share her own reflections. "Mom, I think that's beautiful," Emma said softly, her gaze locked onto Sarah's. "We can encourage each other, right? This is our journey, not just mine. We're partners now." The warmth of Emma's acknowledgement sent a swell of fulfillment through Sarah, solidifying a bond they had established over many months of deep conversation. Propelled by that experience, Sarah sought out a local community center offering social work courses, imagining herself diving headfirst into new connections and potential pathways toward a new career. Sign-up day felt monumental. As she filled out the paperwork, her heart raced with excitement and trepidation. This was no small commitment. It was a declaration of her intent to reclaim her identity as a capable individual beyond motherhood. "Emma, I signed up." Sarah burst into the kitchen, the sheer joy radiating off her. "I'm finally taking that social work course." Emma's face lit up like a sunrise, her pride unmistakable. "You've got this, Mom. I'm so proud of you." Their shared moments became laced with excitement. As Emma prepared for her own internship and navigated the complexities of her journey, she often turned to Sarah for guidance, blending their paths into a harmonious narrative. Together they envisioned bright futures that no longer felt limited to traditional roles but expanded into new horizons. The day of Emma's interview for the internship arrived. Sarah felt a knot of anxiety twisting her stomach, a mixture of pride and protectiveness. "Mom, are you coming with me?" Emma asked, and the tenderness of the request nearly brought Sarah to tears. "Of course," she replied, grasping Emma's hand tightly in the car. The journey to the building felt significant. It was more than a physical distance, it symbolized their leap into the future together. They were not just mother and daughter but allies, both pursuing different yet intertwined dreams. As they arrived, Sarah watched as Emma took center stage, delivering her prepared answers with conviction and clarity. The realization struck her: the work they had done together, the authenticity they learned, and the fears they confronted equipped Emma with the courage to soar. In that moment, Sarah experienced an overwhelming sense of pride and achievement reflected in Emma's success. When the interview concluded, Emma emerged with a broad smile. "I feel good about it, Mom." Her joy eclipsed Sarah's nervousness, validating the journey they had embarked on. A few days later, the email arrived. Emma's eyes sparkled with glee as she read the words, "Congratulations. We are thrilled to welcome you into our internship program." The shout of glee that followed echoed through their home, illuminating every corner and ushering in an atmosphere of celebration. As they embraced, Sarah felt bittersweet joy flood her heart. This wasn't just Emma's success. It represented a blossoming for both of them. "You made it, Emma. I told you that you could conquer this. Mom, you've inspired me. I wouldn't be here without your support." Her words struck a chord deep within Sarah. With every triumph that Emma achieved, Sarah found herself stepping closer to realizing her own aspirations. As summer unfolded, the sessions with Lisa continued, each one deepening their understanding of the interdependence needed to uphold their aspirations. One evening, while reviewing notes from her social work course, Sarah paused and reflected on the transformations they had both experienced. The shadows of doubt that once loomed heavily had transformed into whispers of hope, urging her to step confidently into her new identity. No longer could she be confined to a singular narrative. She was a mother, a support system, and now, a student ready to embrace the unknown. At the end of summer, Sarah prepared for her first community seminar, where she would share insights about the impact of parental relationships on identity. The moment she approached the podium felt surreal, standing before an audience, ready to engage them with her newfound knowledge. As she shared her experiences interwoven with Emma's journey, she felt a sense of accomplishment ringing true. Her voice was steadier than ever, marking a turning point not just in her professional life, but as a definitive acknowledgement of her personal growth. After the seminar, when proudly receiving applause and feedback from attendees, Sarah realized that she had conquered her deepest fears. The validation she received was not just external but internal, solidifying her competence and rekindling a feeling of worthiness she had thought lost forever. Reflected in the journey together, Sarah and Emma had risen from a complicated duality to a collaboration of aspirations, each unwilling to let go of their individual truths and commitments. As they sat across the kitchen table, planning new endeavors, Sarah knew one thing for certain. She had not just supported Emma in pursuing her dreams, she had reclaimed her own in the process, celebrating the joy of empowerment. This was a new chapter, both for her and Emma, one marked by courage, growth, and a shared commitment to thrive. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories of transformation. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support our channel. Comment your reactions and theories about this powerful conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring journey unfold. Let us spread the message of personal growth together.